Welcome to my channel. If you want to hear my story, please subscribe and tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Today I will share with you something that still keeps me awake at night. Something that happened inside my own son's house. A place where I thought I would find love and safety, but instead I found betrayal, fear, and a plan that almost destroyed me. My name is not important anymore. What matters is the lesson my story carries. I am an old woman now. My hair is white, my steps are slow, and my hands tremble when I hold even a cup of tea. Life has not been easy. I lost my husband many years ago, and since then I lived alone in the small house he left me. The walls of that house carried memories, but also silence and loneliness. I thought I would live out my days there, but fate had something else written for me. One day my son, my only child, came to me with his wife. They said, "Mother, you should not live alone anymore. Come stay with us. We'll take care of you." At that moment, my heart filled with joy. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I thought my prayers were answered. What more could a mother want than to spend her final years surrounded by family? So I packed the little I owned, my husband's wristwatch, our wedding photograph, an old album full of family pictures, and my Quran that I never part with. With hope in my heart, I left behind my small home and moved into theirs. At first, life seemed beautiful again. My daughter-in-law smiled at me warmly. "Mother, don't worry about cooking or cleaning," she would say. "You should rest now." My son hugged me every evening when he returned from work, asking, "Mother, are you comfortable here?" I was, or at least I believed I was. But slowly, small shadows began to appear. My daughter-in-law started giving me tablets every night. "These are vitamins," she said. "They will help your memory." I trusted her because she was family. But soon strange things started happening. My head grew heavy, my hands shook, and sometimes I forgot small details, like where I had put my glasses or which day it was. When I asked her why this was happening, she laughed gently and said, "Oh, Mother, it's just your age. Don't worry, you are safe here." My son noticed nothing. He worked long hours, tired when he came home, too distracted to see the changes in me. I kept quiet, convincing myself it was just old age. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. And then came that night, the night that changed everything. At 3 a.m., I woke up thirsty. With my cane in hand, I slowly walked toward the kitchen. As I passed the hallway, I heard a voice. My daughter-in-law's voice, sharp and cold, whispering on the phone. I stopped, hidden in the dark, and what I heard froze my blood. She whispered, "The meds are making her confused. Tomorrow I'll get her committed. Then I just need to get rid of my husband, and all that money is ours." My world collapsed in that single moment. I stood frozen in the dark hallway, my back pressed against the wall, my heart pounding so loud I feared she would hear it. Every word she spoke cut into me like a knife. "The meds are making her confused. Tomorrow I'll get her committed. Then I just need to get rid of my husband, and all that money is ours." For a few seconds I couldn't breathe. My knees shook so badly that I had to hold on to the wall to keep from falling. I wanted to scream, but I knew I had to stay silent. If she discovered me there, listening to her secret, I don't know what she might have done. I waited until I heard her footsteps retreat back to her room. Only then did I dare to move. Slowly, I returned to my small bedroom, closed the door quietly, and sat on the edge of the bed. My whole body trembled. I looked at the Quran on my nightstand and whispered, "Ya Allah, give me strength. Show me a way." Sleep did not come that night. I kept replaying her words in my mind, over and over again. She wanted to send me away to a mental hospital. She wanted to kill my son, her own husband, and steal everything he owned. And I was just the first obstacle in her plan. By the time dawn broke, I had made my decision. I could not stay silent anymore. I had to act. But how? My son loved her deeply. If I told him, would he even believe me? Or would he think my mind truly was failing, just as she claimed? I knew one thing for sure. I could not let her find out that I had overheard her. I had to pretend to be weak, pretend to trust her, pretend that nothing was wrong, because only then could I find the right moment to protect myself and to save my son. When morning came, she behaved as if nothing had happened. She brought me tea, smiling sweetly. "Mother, did you sleep well?" she asked, her eyes full of fake kindness. I forced a smile back and replied, "Yes, my dear. Thank you." Inside, though, my blood boiled. My son came to the breakfast table yawning, rubbing his eyes. "Ami, are you okay?" he asked. "You look tired." I touched his hand gently and said, "I'm fine, Beta. Just a little restless." He kissed my forehead before leaving for work, completely unaware of the danger waiting in his own home. After he left, she turned to me, her smile fading into something colder. "Mother, after lunch I will take you to see a doctor. You've been forgetting too much lately. Don't worry, it's for your own good." I nodded silently, but inside I was screaming. I knew exactly what kind of doctor she meant. If I went with her, I might never come back. That was the moment I decided. I would not wait for her to destroy me. I had to escape before she carried out her plan. All day long, I lived with a mask on my face. I smiled when my daughter-in-law spoke. I ate the food she served me. And I even swallowed the medicine she gave me, but this time, I hid the pill under my tongue and spit it out quietly when she wasn't looking. She thought she was controlling me, but in reality, I was watching every move she made. My heart beat with fear, but also with determination. I could not let her trap me. I had to survive. While she busied herself in the kitchen, I sat quietly in my room, my hands shaking as I opened my old wooden jewelry box. Inside, I kept a few things hidden: my husband's wristwatch, a photograph of my wedding day, and a small envelope of cash I had saved over the years. It wasn't much, but it was all I had. If I was going to escape, I needed to be ready. I folded the money carefully, wrapped the photo in a handkerchief, and tucked everything inside a cloth bag. My cane leaned against the wall, and next to it, my old slippers waited. I stared at them for a long time, realizing that those simple objects might carry me to freedom or to my death. Throughout the day, my daughter-in-law watched me closely. Her smile seemed tighter, her tone sharper. At one point, she leaned over me and said softly, "Mother, you don't have to worry about anything anymore. Soon everything will be taken care of." Those words sent shivers through me. She thought I was weak, powerless, but she didn't know the strength of a mother's heart when her child is in danger. When evening came, my son returned home, tired as always. He kissed my forehead and asked if I was all right. I wanted so badly to tell him everything, to grab his hand and say, "She wants to kill you." But fear stopped me. What if he didn't believe me? What if he told her what I said? That could be the end of me before I had the chance to prove the truth. So I smiled and said, "I'm fine, Beta. Just a little tired." He nodded, kissed me again, and went upstairs to sleep. The house grew quiet. The clock on the wall ticked slowly, each second echoing in my chest like a drum. I lay down on my bed, pretending to sleep. I waited, I listened, I prayed. At midnight, I heard her door close. At 1 a.m., the house was silent. By 2 a.m., even the street outside was empty. When the clock struck 3 a.m., I knew it was time. I slowly got up from my bed, slipped on my slippers, and grabbed my cane and the small cloth bag. My heart pounded so loudly it felt like thunder in my ears. I opened my door carefully, praying it wouldn't creak. Step by step, I made my way down the hallway toward the back door. But just as I reached for the handle, I heard something behind me. A floorboard creaked. That sound, the creak of the floorboard, nearly stopped my heart. I froze, clutching my cane with one hand and the door handle with the other. My breath caught in my throat. For a moment, I was sure she had woken up and was standing right behind me. Slowly, I turned my head. The hallway was dark, silent, empty. My chest rose and fell with shaky breaths. Maybe it was just the house settling, or maybe God was warning me not to waste a second longer. I unlocked the back door as quietly as I could, pushing it open inch by inch until the cool night air touched my face. My hands trembled, but I stepped outside. The world was silent, the streets dimly lit by the weak glow of streetlights. I pulled the door shut behind me and stood there for a moment, staring at the house I had thought would be my shelter. Instead, it had become a prison. My son slept inside, innocent and unaware of the danger beside him. Tears filled my eyes, but I swallowed them back. I could not break down now. I had to survive, for him and for myself. Step by step, I walked away, leaning heavily on my cane. Every sound seemed louder in the empty night. The rustle of leaves, the distant bark of a dog, the echo of my own footsteps. I feared that at any moment she would fling open the door and come after me. After what felt like forever, I reached the main road. A few cars passed by, their headlights blinding me for a moment. I raised my hand, waving desperately. Finally, one car slowed down, a taxi. The driver rolled down his window and frowned. "Amma, what are you doing out here so late?" I need to go," I stammered, my voice trembling. "Please, just take me anywhere safe. A mosque, a police station, anywhere." He looked at me with concern but nodded. "Get in, Amma, I'll take you." I climbed into the back seat, clutching my small bag tightly. As the taxi drove away, I glanced back at the house. Its windows were dark, peaceful. My son was still asleep, unaware that his wife had already planned both our ends. In the safety of the moving car, I finally let the tears fall. They rolled down my wrinkled cheeks, hot and heavy. I whispered prayers under my breath, begging Allah to protect me and guide me. The driver asked gently, "Amma, where do you really want to go?" I hesitated. I couldn't go to relatives, they would call my son. And she might twist the story. I couldn't return to my own house, she would find me there. No, I needed help from someone who could not be deceived. "Take me to the police station," I whispered finally. The driver nodded and turned the car toward the station. My heart raced faster with each passing streetlight. I knew this was only the beginning. Running away was one thing, but proving the truth, exposing her evil plans, that would be the real battle. The taxi stopped outside the police station, its bright lights glowing against the darkness of the night. My hands trembled as I gripped my cane and slowly stepped out of the car. The driver kindly helped me to the door. "Amma, are you sure you'll be okay?" he asked. I nodded, though my heart was heavy. "Yes, Beta. You've already done more than enough for me. May Allah bless you." Inside, the station smelled of strong tea and old paper. A few officers sat at their desks, half asleep, their eyes heavy from the late hour. One young officer looked up as I entered. He frowned in confusion. "Amma, what are you doing here at this time? Did something happen?" I walked closer, leaning on my cane, my voice shaking. "Yes, Beta. Something terrible has happened. Please, I need your help." He guided me to a chair and offered me water. As I sipped, I began to tell my story. I told him about my son, about moving into his house, about the medicines my daughter-in-law gave me. I told him how I began to feel weaker, more confused, and how she laughed at my forgetfulness. Then, with tears streaming down my face, I repeated the words I had overheard. "The meds are making her confused. Tomorrow I'll get her committed. Then I just need to get rid of my husband, and all that money is ours." The young officer's eyes widened. "She said that? Are you sure, Amma?" "I swear by Allah," I whispered, clutching my chest. Those were her exact words. "She is planning to destroy me and then kill my son." Another officer, older and more serious, walked over. "Do you have any proof?" he asked, his tone doubtful. Proof. The word hit me like a stone. I had nothing, no recordings, no witnesses. Just my trembling voice and my frightened heart. "No, but I know what I heard," I pleaded. "Please, you must believe me. If you send me back, she will finish what she started." The older officer sighed, exchanging a glance with the younger one. "Amma, these kinds of family matters are complicated. Maybe you misunderstood? Maybe she was talking about something else?" "No," I cried, my voice breaking. "I know what I heard. She wants to get me committed and then kill my son. Please don't send me back there. At least keep me safe until morning." The young officer looked at me with sympathy. "Sir, maybe we should at least check the situation. If what she's saying is true, the son could also be in danger." The older officer rubbed his forehead but finally nodded. "All right, Amma, you can stay here for the night. In the morning, we'll send someone to visit your house and talk to your son." Relief washed over me like cool water on a burning wound. I whispered, "Thank you. Thank you." But even as I sat there, safe for the moment, fear lingered inside me. Morning would come soon, and with it, the test of whether my son would believe me, or whether his wife would spin her. Web of lies tighter around him. Morning light filtered into the police station. Weak and gray, as I sat hunched on the hard wooden bench, I hadn't slept a single minute. My fingers traced the edges of my cloth bag, holding onto my husband's watch and my wedding photo like they were anchors in a storm. Around 8 a.m., the young officer who had listened to me returned. He brought me a cup of tea and said gently, "Amma, we are going to send a team to your son's house. We need to speak with him directly." My heart raced. "Please," I begged, "be careful. She will act innocent. She is clever, very clever. She will twist everything." The officer nodded. "Don't worry. Just tell the truth. That's all you need to do." 2 policemen drove me back toward the neighborhood. I had escaped from just hours earlier. As the car turned into the familiar street, my stomach churned. The house stood there, peaceful and silent, as if no evil could ever exist within its walls. But I knew better. We rang the bell, and after a moment the door opened. My daughter-in-law stood there, her hair neatly tied, her face glowing with fake innocence. "Oh, Ami, where were you? We were so worried." she cried, rushing forward as if to hug me. I stepped back, clutching my cane. Her eyes flickered for a split second, just long enough for me to see the fury hidden beneath her mask. The police stepped in. "We need to speak with your husband," one officer said firmly. She hesitated, then smiled sweetly. "Of course. Please come inside." My son appeared a few minutes later, still in his work clothes. His face was pale with confusion. "Ami, what's going on? Why are the police here? Where were you all night?" I opened my mouth, my voice trembling. "Beta, listen to me. Your wife, she is poisoning me. She wants to send me away to a hospital. And then she plans to—" My throat caught on the words. "She plans to kill you." My son froze, his eyes wide. He turned slowly toward his wife. She gasped in shock, pressing her hands to her chest. "Astaghfirullah. Ami, how could you say such a thing? You must be confused. You've been forgetting things for weeks. I told you to see a doctor. Now you're making up such terrible lies?" Her voice broke as if she were crying, but I knew it was only an act. The officers exchanged glances. My son rubbed his forehead, torn between his mother and his wife. Finally he spoke, his voice heavy. "Ami, I love you. But this is too much. Are you sure about what you heard?" I reached for his hand, tears streaming down my face. "I swear on your father's grave, Beta." "Every word is true." She said it with her own mouth. Silence fell in the room. The air was thick, every breath painful. My son looked from me to her, his face full of doubt, fear, and confusion. And then she spoke. "Fine," she said softly, her eyes narrowing. "If you don't believe me, search the house." The moment she said, "Search the house," my heart skipped a beat. Her voice was calm, almost too calm, as though she was certain nothing would be found. I clutched my cane tighter, praying silently, "Ya Allah, expose the truth. Don't let her lies win." The officers nodded and began moving through the house. One of them asked her politely, "Do you mind if we look around, madam?" She gave a sweet smile. "Of course not. I have nothing to hide." Her confidence frightened me. What if she had already hidden everything? What if I ended up looking like a foolish old woman, hallucinating and spreading false accusations? My son followed the officers, his face tense. I sat on the edge of the sofa, my hands trembling, my eyes darting to her every move. She stood calmly, her arms folded, her expression perfectly controlled. But I could see it, the flicker in her eyes, the slight twitch of her jaw. She was nervous, even if she tried to hide it. Minutes passed. The officers opened cupboards, drawers, even the medicine cabinet in the bathroom. And then finally one of them called out, "Sir, come look at this." We all rushed to the kitchen, where the officer held up a small box tucked away behind the jars of spices. Inside were several blister packs of tablets, half empty, unmarked. The older officer frowned. "What are these?" My daughter-in-law's eyes widened, her face twisting into a mask of innocence. "Oh, those? They're just supplements. I bought them online for Mother's health. You know how weak she has become." I stepped forward, my voice sharp despite my trembling body. "Lies. Those are the pills she gave me every night. They made me dizzy, confused, and weak. She told me they were vitamins, but they were not." The younger officer carefully pocketed the box. "We'll have these tested," he said firmly. For the first time, my daughter-in-law's smile cracked. She bit her lip, her eyes flicking nervously toward my son. "Darling, you know I would never hurt your mother." She must be confused. She doesn't understand. But my son's face had changed. He was no longer only confused. There was suspicion in his eyes now. Suspicion he couldn't ignore. He turned to her slowly. "Why didn't you ever tell me about these pills?" "Why hide them in the kitchen?" She stammered. I didn't hide them. I forgot." The older officer shook his head. "It's not easy to forget medicine like this. We'll hold on to it. Until the results come back, madam, you are under observation." My daughter-in-law's face hardened, just for a split second. It was the real her, the mask slipping. She quickly forced another smile, but it was too late. My son had seen it. I had seen it. And so had the police. My heart pounded with a strange mix of fear and relief. The first crack had appeared in her carefully built wall of lies. But I knew. This was only the beginning. She was not the type of woman to give up easily. The hours after the search felt endless. The police had taken the suspicious pills with them, promising to send them to a laboratory for testing. Until then, nothing was certain. My son paced the living room, his face pale, his mind clearly torn in two. My daughter-in-law sat calmly on the sofa, her hands folded neatly on her lap, as if she were the picture of innocence. I sat silently, clutching my cane, watching her like a hawk. Every time her eyes met mine, I saw it, the flicker of hatred she tried so hard to hide. 2 days later, the officers returned. My son, my daughter-in-law, and I sat in the living room when they entered. The older officer held a file in his hand. "We have the results of the tablets," he announced. My heart pounded so loudly I could barely hear the rest of his words. "These pills contain strong sedatives and antipsychotic medication. They are not vitamins. They are not supplements. In high doses, they can cause confusion, memory loss, and physical weakness, especially in someone elderly." The room went silent. My son's eyes widened as he turned slowly toward his wife. You told me they were vitamins," she gasped dramatically, clutching her chest. "Darling, I didn't know. The shopkeeper must have tricked me. I only wanted to help your mother. I would never harm her." But the mask was slipping. I saw sweat glistening on her forehead, the trembling of her hands. The younger officer stepped forward. "We also checked your internet search history, madam. You looked up these exact drugs. You researched side effects. You researched dosage." Her eyes widened with panic. "No, that's not true. Anyone could have used my phone." My son's face turned red with anger. "Stop lying," he shouted. "You've been giving these to my mother every night. You wanted her to lose her mind, didn't you?" She began to cry, her tears falling in practiced streams. "I only wanted her to rest. She was always anxious, always complaining. I thought this would help her sleep." I slammed my cane against the floor, my voice trembling but fierce. "Enough, stop pretending. That night at 3 a.m. I heard you on the phone. You said it yourself. The meds are making her confused. Tomorrow I'll get her committed. Then I just need to get rid of my husband. And all that money is ours. Those were your words. Do you deny it?" Her face twisted, fury flashing in her eyes before she quickly covered it with fake sorrow. "She's old. She imagines things. You can't believe her." But my son wasn't blind anymore. He shook his head, his voice heavy with betrayal. "No, I believe her." The officers exchanged glances. The older one spoke firmly. "Madam, you are under arrest. You will come with us for further questioning." As they handcuffed her, she screamed, her voice echoing through the house. "You'll regret this, both of you. This isn't over." I closed my eyes and whispered a prayer of thanks. The truth was finally in the open, but I knew in my heart her story with us was not finished yet. The moment the police car drove away with my daughter-in-law, the house felt strangely quiet. For the first time in months, I could breathe without fear of what she might slip into my tea or whisper behind closed doors. Yet even in her absence, her shadow lingered. Her words, "This isn't over," echoed in my mind like a curse. My son sat heavily on the sofa, his head buried in his hands. "Ami, how could I have been so blind?" he whispered. His shoulders shook, his voice breaking. She was my wife. I trusted her with everything, my home, my heart, my future. And all this time she was planning to destroy us. I placed my trembling hand on his shoulder. "Beta, do not blame yourself. Evil hides behind smiles. Love makes us blind. You are not at fault." He looked up, his eyes red, and asked the question that chilled me. "Ami, what if she's pregnant? What if she carries my child?" I froze. The thought had never crossed my mind. If she was carrying his baby, things would become far more complicated. Her presence would never fully leave us, no matter how much we wished it. Before I could answer, the phone rang. My son picked it up. It was the police again, asking him to come to the station the next morning for further questioning. They wanted to discuss financial records, property documents, and certain transactions made in his name. After he hung up, he turned to me. "Ami, I think she's been stealing money, not just from me, but from my company accounts." That night I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking of all the moments. She had smiled sweetly while hiding, knives behind her back. I remembered her sudden interest in managing the household bills, her insistence that she should help with my son's paperwork, her countless phone calls she claimed were two friends. How had I missed all these signs? The next morning, at the police station, everything began to unravel. The officers laid out documents, bank withdrawals, forged signatures, hidden accounts. She had been planning her escape for months. Not only did she want me locked away and my son dead, but she also wanted every last rupee he had earned. My son's face grew paler with every paper shown. This can't be true," he muttered, though deep down he knew it was. The officer leaned back in his chair. Your wife is clever, but careless. She left enough evidence for us to build a strong case. However, she is refusing to cooperate. She claims everything she did was for your benefit, and that your mother," he glanced at me, "is fabricating stories out of jealousy." I sat up straighter, my voice clear. "Jealousy? I may be old, but I'm not blind." I saw her mask fall. I heard her greed with my own ears. My son took my hand. His grip was firm, desperate. "Ami, we will face this together. I promise I won't let her hurt you ever again." Yet even as he said those words, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning, that her reach extended further than we knew. The days after her arrest were heavy with tension. My son and I tried to return to normal life, but normal no longer existed. Every ring of the phone made us jump. Every knock at the door made us wonder, is it her? On the third morning, while my son was at work, I sat alone in the kitchen when I heard a soft knock at the back door. My heart skipped. Slowly, I walked over, leaning on my cane, and opened it just enough to see. A woman stood there, older than my daughter-in-law, her face sharp, her eyes full of suspicion. She introduced herself as Shabnam, her elder sister. "I came to speak with you," she said coldly. Something in her voice told me she was not here to apologize. "Your daughter is in jail for trying to poison me," I said firmly, keeping the door half closed. "If you've come to threaten me, don't waste your time." But she smiled thinly. "Poison? That's just your imagination. My sister loved you like a mother. She wouldn't harm you." I almost laughed. "A mother? She wanted me dead." Shabnam's expression hardened. "Listen carefully, old woman. If my sister goes down, she will not go down alone. She knows many of your son's secrets, financial and personal. Do you really want the world to hear them?" Her words stung like venom. Was this a warning? Or a blackmail? I gripped the door tighter. "My son has nothing to hide. But your sister, she is the one who destroyed her own home." The woman's eyes narrowed. "You think this is over? It's only the beginning. You don't know who you are dealing with." With that, she turned and walked away, her dupatta fluttering in the wind. I locked the door quickly, my hands trembling. My mind raced. If her family was involved, if they were protecting her, then this battle was far from won. When my son came home, I told him everything. His face went pale. "Ami, I never told you this, but she once insisted I invest money in a business deal with her cousin. Something felt wrong, so I refused. She was furious for weeks. I think her whole family is part of this." A cold chill spread through me. This wasn't just a greedy wife. It was a web of deceit, with many hands pulling the strings. That night, as I lay in bed, I heard my son moving restlessly in his room. Neither of us could sleep. The silence of the house was filled with unspoken fears. At around 2 a.m., the phone rang. My son picked it up, and I heard only fragments of his side of the conversation. His voice was tense. "What? How? No, that's impossible." When he came into my room, his face was white as a sheet. "Ami, she's been released on bail." My heart dropped. The nightmare had just returned to our doorstep. When my son told me she had been released on bail, it felt like the air was sucked out of the room. I gripped the edge of my blanket, my hands trembling. "Bail? After everything the police found?" I whispered. He nodded, his jaw tight. "Her lawyer argued that the evidence was not enough to prove intent. He said the pills could have been a misunderstanding, that maybe you confused her words at night. And the court? They granted her bail." I felt sick. The very thought of her walking free sent chills through my bones. I had seen the evil in her eyes. She was clever, manipulative, and now she was back in control. That evening, we heard a car pull up outside. My son peered through the window, his face pale. "It's her," he muttered. I stayed in my room, my heart racing as the front door opened. Her voice floated through the hallway, sweet, calm, as though nothing had ever happened. "Darling, I'm home. I missed you so much." I heard my son snap back, his anger breaking through. "Don't you dare call this house your home. After what you did to my mother, after what you planned for me, how can you stand here pretending to be innocent?" But she laughed softly, the sound cold. "Oh, my poor husband, you've been brainwashed by that old woman. She hates me, and now she has poisoned your mind against me." I couldn't stay silent. I stepped out of my room, leaning on my cane. "Don't you dare put this on me. I heard you with my own ears. You wanted me locked away. You wanted your husband dead. And for what? Money?" Her eyes flickered, her mask slipping for just a second. But then she smiled sweetly. "Ami, you're confused again. That's what those tablets were for, to help you. You've mistaken care for cruelty. My son slammed his fist against the wall. Enough, I don't want lies. The police have your internet searches, your forged documents, your accounts. You can't hide anymore. She tilted her head, her smile never fading. Ah, but I can delay. Trials take time. Evidence can vanish. Witnesses can be silenced. Her gaze locked onto me when she said the last words. I felt my blood run cold. My son stepped in front of me protectively. If you touch her, I swear... She interrupted with a laugh, soft but chilling. Relax, dear. I'm only here to remind you both that I'm not finished. You think you're safe because of the police? The law can be bent. Money can buy freedom. And I have allies you don't even know about. Her words sank into the room like poison. Then she calmly walked upstairs to what had been their bedroom. As though she still owned it, I clutched my son's arm, whispering, Beta. She will not stop until one of us is gone. And in my heart, I knew it was the truth. That night, I could not close my eyes. Every creak of the house, every whisper of the wind felt like a warning. She was here again, sleeping just down the hall. And I knew she would not rest until her plan was complete. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying her words. Trials take time. Evidence can vanish. Witnesses can be silenced. She had looked straight at me when she said that. A threat as sharp as any knife. By morning, I had made a decision. I could no longer rely only on the police or even my son. If she truly had allies who could twist the law in her favor, then I had to gather my own evidence, something undeniable, something she could never erase. At breakfast, she acted as though nothing was wrong. She placed parathas on the table, poured tea, and even hummed a tune. My son barely touched his food, his anger boiling too close to the surface. I forced myself to eat a little, though every bite tasted bitter in her presence. Ami, she said sweetly, don't forget to take your medicine after tea. I smiled weakly, but inside I was screaming. I excused myself, went to my room, and carefully pocketed the pills she had left for me. This time I would not swallow them. Instead, I would keep every pill she tried to give me. One day I would have proof. Over the next few days, I pretended to play the part of the weak, confused old woman she believed me to be. I let her think she was winning. Whenever she tried to give me her special medicine, I took it with a shaky smile, only to slip it into my pocket when she wasn't looking. Meanwhile, I began keeping a diary. Every word I overheard, every suspicious move she made, I wrote down in detail. I dated every entry, keeping my notes hidden under the loose floorboard beneath my bed. But I knew that written words and hidden pills might not be enough. If she ever suspected me, she would tear my room apart. So I thought of something braver, something dangerous. One afternoon, when she went out to buy groceries, I quietly placed a small recorder, borrowed from my neighbor, under the sofa in the living room. If she ever spoke on the phone again about her plans, I would capture her voice. That evening, my patience was rewarded. As my son showered upstairs, she took a call in the living room. Her voice was hushed, but the recorder caught it clearly. Yes, don't worry. I'll handle the old woman soon. She's already half out of her mind. The court won't question me. And as for him, her tone turned colder. I just need the right moment. One accident and everything will be mine. I sat in my room, my heart racing, clutching my diary. I finally had it, the proof I needed. But now came the hardest part, surviving long enough to use it. That night, with the recorder hidden and my diary safe beneath the loose board, I felt lighter than I had in months. For the first time since I overheard those terrible words, I slept without hating the darkness. But sleep was only a small comfort. Dawn would bring the real trial. I walked into the living room with my cane and the recorder clenched inside, my robe like a secret talisman. My son was there, pale but resolute. I handed him the little device and the notebook. My hands trembled, but my voice did not. Beta, listen. This is what she planned. This is what she said. We went to the police together. This time I did not hide or plead. I spoke plainly, showing every entry, every pill I'd kept, and then we played the recording. Her voice filled the room, cold, casual, utterly cruel. The officers listened, eyes hardening. There was no misunderstanding now. There was only proof. Later, the police came with new strength. They returned for her, and this time there could be no bail that would hide her guilt. She screamed and cursed as they put the cuffs on. The same threats poured from her lips, but the masks had fallen forever. The judge listened to the evidence. Witnesses corroborated small lies and strange purchases. Forgeries and hidden accounts were laid bare. In court, she tried to charm, to cry, to blame me. But people do not forget a recording. My son sat beside me every day of the hearings. He held my hand and did not look away. For him, I had risked the night and the shame of being called confused. For him, I had chosen truth over comfort. He apologized, softly with tears, and I forgave him without hesitation. Forgiveness is a weight that frees you more than the one you carry from another's betrayal. When the final judgment came, the court convicted her of attempted harm, fraud, and conspiracy. She received a sentence that matched the coldness of her plan. There was no mercy for one who tried to steal another life for money. As for us, we rebuilt slowly. Broken things take time to mend. My son closed accounts, changed locks, and began to speak openly about what happened, warning others to listen to their elders. I did not return to the little house I had left before. That place had become a memory too sharp. Instead, my son and I moved to a quieter house together. We planted a small garden, my therapy. I planted roses because they reminded me of my youth, and because even in thorn, there can be beauty. If this story has a lesson, it is this: never dismiss your instincts, and never let fear stop you from acting. The old are not always helpless. Sometimes all it takes is courage and a listening ear. Love can make us blind, but truth is the light that opens eyes. Thank you for listening to my story. Please subscribe to my channel if you want more true life stories. And tell me in the comments where you are watching from. Share this video to protect someone you love.